Good day, my name is Garen Doring, and I am working with Desiree and Alex, and for the topic of our presentation, we decided to go with time management because it's not only important in your personal life, but right now, so early in the apprenticeship, it's good for us to kind of get some guidelines on how we can juggle going to school, going back to work, and just really managing our time so that we can be effective in all aspects of going through this program. So we kind of based most of our information off of the 10 strategies for better time management off of the week 1 module. But of course we also took some information from other credible sources as well. But we kind of took into the fact those 10 steps, and then we kind of broke down each step and really just kind of dove deep in each one, figured out how they affect us in our aspects of our life. So my part of the project here is to talk to you about the first 3 steps, and then we're also all going to go over the final step of step 10. So for me, step 1 would be knowing how you're spending your time, which was really beneficial and important to me. Step 2 would be setting priorities, again, something that really kind of hit home with me. And step 3 is using a planning tool in order to effectively be able to manage your time properly. So, excuse me. Of course, I will be diving into all 3 of these things in a little bit more depth as we go along. So step 1, knowing how you're spending your time. In the article, it kind of gave us necessarily a guideline on you're supposed to maybe time yourself in 15-minute intervals. So I took that upon myself and I started timing pretty much every aspect of my day. It was super fun. Time flies when you're not timing every aspect of it. It really doesn't seem as bad, but when you're timing every aspect, it kind of excuse me, goes rather quickly. So with timing every aspect, I pretty much was able to determine where my most productive part of the day was and where my least productive part of the day was. So obviously right now most of my day is spent doing my schoolwork and then heading into class for doing my trade. So that chops up a good amount of my day, but I just didn't realize necessarily how long most tasks were. So, I mean, remedial tasks such as just making dinner, doing your laundry, cleaning it all up, getting ready for bed, it took a lot longer than I had originally thought. I thought it was just quick, get it done, get ready for the next day. But with doing this step, it really kind of puts into perspective how much time you spend doing each of these things. So it was really interesting on my part. I thought it was really good. Excuse me. And step 2 is setting priorities. Now, in the module, it made a pretty clear distinction in what you need to do in your life is make the distinction in between what is important and what is urgent. Now, I thought all along, most of the stuff that I was doing was super important, but it's not necessarily urgent that you have to do, that time. You're spending extra time doing things that aren't necessarily need to be done at that time. For example, I was doing, projects around the house, which to me seemed very important to do, but they weren't necessarily urgent. Like, they didn't have to be done right at that time. So I could have been spending my time doing things that are more important and more urgent, such as, just spending time with your family, taking care of your pets that you have. Of course, I was still doing that all along, but, put a little bit more time into things that are more urgent and pressing, rather than doing things like, I was building steps out in front of my house, which I thought, were they needed to be replaced and they needed to be done. It was urgent, important, needed to get done, but I was taking precedent of that stuff over other urgent things in my life that probably should have, taken into account. So setting priorities was a pretty good tool for me to kind of put things into perspective. And then step 3 is using a planning tool. You got your to-do list, and you can mark it all down on a calendar, which I never really was a big fan of it. But after I kind of did the step 1 and got a good representation of where I'm spending most of my time, then I did do a traditional to-do list, and gosh, excuse me. I took a blank calendar that I had and I wrote down. I wanted to start off small. I didn't want to overwhelm myself quickly. So I started off small, and I started off with weekly tasks of what needed to be done weekly, not necessarily daily. I just put allotted time in there, such as, doing my school stuff, getting my laundry done on a certain day, so that I'm not getting caught up, or I should say I'm not getting backed up and overwhelmed at that time when that needs to get done. So, there was kind of everything in there. I had specific days to do, a deeper clean around the house. Really get into it, vacuum all the rooms, do some dusting, things like that. Then, of course, I also just put out time, just clean up after yourself, because then there's less things to do at the end of the time. So I thought setting a tool would be pretty cool. So, but within that, I also allotted some time to do things such as the stairs out in front of my house, other bigger projects that, again, going back to priorities, they weren't urgent, but they were pretty important to get done at some time. So that's how I figured out setting up a tool, a planning tool to use. And a to-do list is just one of many things you can do. It's just the thing that I chose, and I thought that it would work well with me, and it definitely did. So I'm just going to touch quickly on step 10, because we're all going to be touching on this one as well. It's just staying healthy. You need to be healthy. It's all about, with time management, yeah, it's important to get everything done, but you also got to kind of allot yourself some time to just wind down, relax, spend time with your family, spend time with your dogs and or cats, whatever pets you may have. And it's pretty important, because when when you allot yourself all this time to do these things, going down to spend time with your family and just sit down and watch some TV, it's not as stressful like you thinking you need to be getting things done, because with knowing how you're spending your time and setting priorities, using those tools, that all that stuff is good and done, and you can just relax. So I'll let Desiree take it from here. Thank you.